Now I'll often leave the color dodge layer mode till last. So I'll show you sort of where I might use the color dodge layer mode. So I might use it sort of just a touch on some of these sort of highlights. Maybe on the nose a little bit. And maybe underneath here where there'll be some reflected light, that could look cool. Maybe on the watch. And maybe a little bit on here. Don't want to overdo it with this. So it can very quickly look a little bit too much. And then I'll come through and knock some of that back. It's only very slight, right? But it just adds a little extra pop. Okay, so as I said, I could keep going with this for ages, but I won't bore you. Let's get stuck into the final stage of the screen layer. So this is what I'm trying to achieve. If I come back up here to our sphere, let's cut him out. Nope. There we go. Okay, just so we've got a clear look at what I'm talking about. Now, let's get rid of some of this as well. That's okay, they can stay there. All right. So, rim lights. What I'm going to be doing is using screen layer mode, which you should be sort of used to seeing now. And I wanted to do like one side blue and one side purple. No particular reason. I think I saw it on Pinterest. It's like a pretty standard kind of lighting setup, like rim lights wise, I think. But you can really do any light you want. Just check out some reference and see how you go trying to replicate that. But not just replicating it like what the reference looks like, but understanding it. So we've got that side there and that side there. what I'll do is I'll kind of airbrush this out. Now, because this sphere is very spherical, it's going to be pretty uniform, the shape. What I'll also do as well is I'll do another screen layer over the top. Where are we at? Screen. Make it a little bit brighter and hit the very edge of where that light's going to hit. So it almost, the fall off of light, it starts off quite bright and then sort of gradates to a more saturated version of the light, if that makes sense. So it gives it a more realistic look. Okay. So that's what we're going for. With this guy, he's got all bumps and all sorts of stuff. So he's got like the hoodie, he's not a sphere. So what I'm thinking about is, let's throw a new layer on here. We'll clip it to him. We'll grab our blue color, we'll make it screen. And we'll give him a blue rim light here. Now, I'm actually imagining like a light hitting the side of his face, right? So we could put it in pretty hard to begin with. So let's just say this plane will be hit by light. Okay, there will be gradations and fall off and all that fun stuff. But let's just say that's going to be hit by light. And if this is going to be hit by light, this ear is definitely going to be hit by light. This plane is going to be hit by light. This plane is going to be hit by light. Also, depending on the material is how intense or how reflective the light is going to appear to be, right? I'm just blocking this in at the moment, but with skin versus say material is not going to sort of reflect it as much, and it's going to absorb more. So it mightn't look the same. Hair, depending on the hair, because this is stylized, we can get away with quite a lot. But hair can be quite shiny sometimes. Yeah, let's just block that in. Now let's imagine that this is being hit here. There's going to be a plane up the top here, and we're just going to see the top plane of that. We might have a bit of this side plane here. A little bit of this top plane. Maybe that's... You don't have to be exact with this either, but just having a bit of this variation in here. I mean, you can get pretty technical and think, okay, the light's going to come in here, it's going to bounce. There's a plane on this side, it's going to have like bounce light affect this shadow, and it's going to bring this shadow up. But you can get that level of detail if you want, but I'm not bothering too much about that. And see how the screen mode actually reacts to different materials, like how the skin here is a darker value. You come over to the hoodie and it's quite light, so that's why I would use the screen mode. You could, again, literally paint on top just with one layer and calculate the light and how it would sort of affect and blend into the skin or absorb into the skin and blah blah blah. But this is just a nice way to get something working pretty quickly. Alright, so this leg, you see how it reacts differently to the jeans as well. Cool. Now I don't imagine it having too much reflection here, but this plane will have a lot. up a fair amount. And then the top of that shoe, so we have to give it some thickness. Some of these laces might be more inclined to sort of catch more of that light. Now we've got the side of the speakers, which is really going to pop these out from sort of the background, which is kind of what we want. This is what rim lights are really good for. Can even peek a little bit of that rim light through there. Now the hand isn't going to see too much any of this rim light, I don't think. Neither is this hand. But you can cheat that as well. Really, like it doesn't really matter. Like you can throw some rim light in here. It's not technically correct, but if you just want that hand to sort of pop out a little bit more, go for it. Who cares? Like, it's completely up to you. That's that whole artistic license kind of thing. See how that's kind of without it on. Turn the lights on, turn the lights off, turn the lights on. It's pretty cool, hey? This is one of my favorite parts. Just playing around with these final little tidbits. Cool. All right, so we'll do the purple side now. Come around this side, and let's imagine that we'll just block this in. That's going to be hit. That's a plane there. That's a plane there. That's a plane there. That's a plane there. This whole cheek. Let's say that's going to be hit. Back of the ear. Or the side of the ear, let's say. Back of the cap. Now this whole side plane of the arm, let's say. Just going to catch that light. Say that plane of the jeans, these planes here. You get sick of me saying these planes, these planes, these planes, but and then maybe we could even imagine that this whole side plane of the speaker is actually getting hit by some of that rim light. So it actually feels like there's a light standing off to the right hand side of him. This is so fun. Just playing around with this. Cool, now we can sort of refine these shapes, right? So maybe we don't want this cheek to be so blown out. So we can come in with the airbrush, the eraser. Just kind of maybe throw the opacity on. Just erase that back. Now this is definitely not going to be as intense. The material of the cap versus the skin. So that's really sort of knocked it back quite a lot, which is good. This is fine, this is fine. Because these are sort of clothing, I don't mind it being more angular. Maybe this has a little bit of fall off. Maybe this is more like that, so it's a little bit of a gradient. And I'll assess this side, same deal. You can make one side more stronger versus the other as well if you want. It's completely up to you. Cool. So without width. And now we'll do the extra little bit to make those edges really sort of pop a little bit more. So then I'll come and use the airbrush, because we've got a screen layer on a screen layer. It's going to kind of pop it even more. Cool. So then that just about wraps it up. I mean, you could always come over the top of this as well. So you could, let's get that ball out of the way. We've got our final, or our more cleaned up render. And we've got our screen layers for the rim lights. And then we can just duplicate that and be like final details. Merge them, and then we can just come on top and do exactly what I've been doing for the last however many hours or whatever. and just straight up paint. So yeah, this is about it for this guy. I mean, there's a bunch of different processes that I'm playing with. Like, I recommend you play around with different processes. Like what I've given here, the details I've given here, mix and match things. Try different things out. If you don't like doing all the layer stuff, don't do all the layer stuff. Just do it all in one layer or a couple of layers, merge them down and just keep going. Or if you feel like you want to save layers, save more layers, instead of just new layer, let's make a change. Cool. Merging it, maybe you want to group them and then duplicate and then merge. So then you've got a saved version of what you did. So you're kind of doing a save as you go. There's a bunch of different ways you could go about this, but I hope this has given you a good idea of the process for this guy. And yeah, it gives you some inspiration or some ideas of how to sort of stylize your own characters in this kind of style. So yeah, I guess I'll just keep noodling at this. And yeah, that's basically it. Thanks so much for picking this up. It really means a lot. And please let me know if there's parts that didn't make sense or things that weren't clear, because I'm looking to sort of make stuff that's as clear as possible and as in depth as possible without getting too dense. So yeah, please let me know if this has been helpful, and I hope you've enjoyed it.